New York, and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ebro in the morning. Borderline edging on friend of the show at this point.
I know.
Winston Duke back on the program. How are you, man?
I take offense to being called borderline.
This is your second time, right?
I'm upset.
Hold on, it's your second time.
This is my second time.
Yeah, next time you're fully in.
I'm fully in?
Third time.
Oh, my God.
What's your
There's
third
a lot
timer?
of proving
No,
yourself.
No,
I know.
Ebro will meet someone on the street and just be like, friend of the show. I require a little more work.
Oh, my
But
God.
we're
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yes.
And why? And what are you talking about? You have something very exciting in the pipeline right now.
We have Us.
Yes.
Jordan Peele. And it stars Lupita N'yongo and myself, Winston Duke.
And you've been, and when we talked last time you were here, you've been friends with Lupita forever, right?
For a long time, we went to graduate school together at Yale School of Drama. And so we were friends for 3 years before 12 Years a Slave happened and years before Black Panther happened. And, so this is just an incredible opportunity to work with her finally because we never worked together at school.
Yeah.
And to be supporting in a movie that's technically her first leading role after winning an Oscar feels amazing,
Which is a crazy thing to think about, too.
Right.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us a little bit about the premise of the film? Because I saw the trailer. Did you get the chance to? We all
Where do
saw
you think
the
I
trailer.
live? I don't live under a rock. That trailer, when that
For the
trailer
people who
hit, that
didn't.
trailer hit.
Yeah, and it
Tell
hit
us a little
on
bit,
Christmas morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Hit on Christmas morning, and the premise is it's really based around a family, the Wilsons, and they're just trying to have a wonderful summer vacation, but they run into essentially a very horrific circumstance. They meet their doppelgangers, they meet their doubles, and they have to survive this encounter. And the movie is really watching them trying to survive this encounter. And just like any other Jordan Peele movie, I'm sure you're familiar with Get Out.
Of course.
No, never.
So what was the premise of that one?
Gentrification.
Was it good? Okay.
I heard it did well. Some circles. Yes. So Jordan Peele's movies are multifaceted, very layered, and just like Get Out, our movie functions on 6, 7, 8 layers all at once, So you're going to be entertained by this family, and seeing what they go through. But then there's a lot of commentary, a lot of social commentary happening with the film.
One thing that I think is so interesting about the movie is that the trailer stands out. This is like such an indication or indictment of what Hollywood is. The movie premise is made to look more interesting because the family's black.
Right.
Which is so wild. Like when
Yeah.
you think about it, if you saw that trailer and it was a white family, you'd go,
Okay.
ooh, this is a good-looking horror movie this summer.
Yeah.
But because it's a black family and we've literally never been offered this,
Yeah.
you're like, yo,
Yeah.
what is this?
This
Black
stands
people on
out.
vacation and a horror thing happens? There's so many layers
Yeah.
culturally to why it's interesting.
Just in the trailer, just like the base premise offers you a lot to chew, and then when you consider the genre is one where black people are often the first casualties
That's
of
like the
genre.
thing. That's the joke.
Yeah,
So funny,
that's like
yeah.
the big thing. It's like, okay, Tyrone, let's split up.
Right.
Dad,
You go that way.
I'll go
this way.
Becky and I are gonna go left, and it's like, what happened to Tyrone? But so that's one of the reasons you're kind of stumbling onto one of the reasons that horror as a genre never really appealed to me in the past, because I never thought it would be something that I'd really get my just dues in.
You're
Yeah.
telling me that you were, as an actor, not at all inspired by Busta Rhymes and Halloween H2O.
Shout out to Busta.
Shout out to Busta Rhymes for
You're not
getting that
trying to
spot.
get any. We're not getting any enemies today.
Talk about
But yeah, it really is one of those things that just. That genre itself has so many tropes that weren't healthy for people who looked like me and like us, so black people. So it wasn't something that really appealed to me. And when it was Jordan Peele that got me into it. He reached out to me and said, I have something that I'd love for you to be a part of. Just read it. I'm not going to tell you anything. Just read it and let me know what you think. After I read it, I was like, oh, whoa, bold. So he told me that Lupita was gonna be doing it. Then she reached out and was like, "You better do it." I
mean, come on. Tell us the truth. When you get the script at this point from Jordan Peele, you're not already 80% like I'm
really interested, but I've always been this way about my careers. I'm not afraid to walk away from something. I'm not afraid to walk away from something if the deal's not right, if the content isn't okay, because you have to be responsible for what you put out. You know what I mean? You have to be able to sleep at night for, all those reasons.
No, I get it. Now, at this point, when you read the script, you already knew what character he wanted you to play.
I knew what character. He told me all that stuff, but he didn't give me any of the premise. And I always go into things like, okay, let me read the script first. And I've never done an audition. I did Black Panther without reading that script, but I was really hungry.
It's interesting because we've heard actors
Yeah.
read for a certain role and end up getting another one.
Yeah,
Has that happened to you?
That's not happened to me yet. Something almost like that almost happened, and we decided not to do that. It just didn't work out.
Gotcha.
But I've heard of that happening a lot. I think one of the characters on Game of Thrones had that happen. That guy Ramsay, he went in for something else. But yeah, I read the script and immediately I was like, okay, let's do it. And we talked about the character. We talked about what he would represent, his function in the script. And Jordan Peele's a very thoughtful guy. So everything he already knows could mean this, could mean that, could mean this, could mean that. So yeah, it was a big collaborative effort.
What day is Us out?
Us is the 22nd. Yeah. 22nd.
So we're
April.
just a few weeks away. I'm very excited about that. We got to run through a few other movie things with you. Okay. First of all, were you excited to see Spike Lee get an Oscar finally?
History right there. So it's just great to see some of the progress that the industry is making. By no stretch of the imagination are all the problems solved. You know what I mean? But it's good to see that recognition is happening. And Spike Lee, that's long overdue.
It was beautiful to see on television, but you were there. So how was the vibe?
Yeah, there's a lot of blackness in the room. There was the entire Black Panther cast, Mahershala, his family. You've got, I think, what's her name there? She's with Top Dog. She did the stars. SZA was there. You got Barry Jenkins that was sitting right behind me. Sam Jackson is 4 seats to the left. Angela and her husband, are right there. And it's just, there's a lot of black in the room, everywhere. And the second anyone black, Regina, you heard Regina King's name, and everyone was like, yeah!
Right.
So there was a lot of support, and it was electric. And then when, Spike won his award, everybody was just going crazy.
It's amazing, though, how this has to really be sustained over time for things to change. It can't be 1 year where you go, oh, man, Regina King got an Oscar. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember looking up and being like, wow, Regina King just won an Oscar. I've been watching her since 227.
Right.
That's incredible.
And it goes to show how important community is. Even in a room like that, community is evident because of how they're cheering for each other and how they support each other and how we support each other. It's very important for us all to be in touch and with our communities, you know what I mean? They sustain and edify, you know what I mean? So that was a really big part.
Where did you land on the feelings on Green Book? Did you see the movie?
I did see the movie. I thought the performances were strong. It's always a complicated situation when you have white saviors and things like that. But anytime Mahershala is getting recognized and our stories get to be told, it's still up to us to be in conversation with it all and point out when it's not fair. Hold it accountable. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important for us to be having these conversations around the movie. I thought the movie worked, but it had problems.
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it. I enjoyed it. I saw it with my mom over the holidays. It was one of those.
Yeah. I thought it was incredibly feel good.
There's
I
parts
enjoyed
about
it.
that
I laughed.
Yeah, there's parts that are really good.
Yeah.
And then I realized ultimately why I'm not good with it. Mm-hmm. I'm good with the movie being made.
Of course.
Why I'm not good with it beating out Black Klansmen, for example. there's a prominent personality who I'm not going to mention because I don't feel like getting into things, but who is a like Trump-loving right-winger who loved it. And it was like, it was Best Picture. This was Best Picture. And I'm like, that alone shows why racially it wasn't the right kind of movie. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
And
what
I'm
you're
not
saying.
trying to like just draw a line down the middle. But if that's where you are right now politically and that movie made you feel good, then it did not accomplish racially what it should have been trying to accomplish. Whereas Black Klansman still used black people and white people together to really show growth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, like, you know, that's just one of the key factors to, I guess, democracy. You know what I mean? People voted. And you might not agree with a vote, but you got to be happy that it's happening. You know what I mean? Like,
and Mahershala Ali's just putting his
Mahershala
mantle. His
killed it.
mantle's
I think
getting
more
crazy.
people were just
Mahershala
excited
was
to celebrate
fantastic in it.
Mahershala.
Yeah, you're excited to do that, but you know, I think it's in the same vein as why people didn't like why people had the same comments about The Help, where, you know, it doesn't actually show blackness in its fully realized state. You know what I mean? Like, it's still just a snippet. And yeah, man, it's really, we have to just hold them accountable and keep having these conversations.
Listen, in 1990 or 1995, I think the Green Book, our feelings on it would have been different.
Yeah, of course.
But
of
it's
course.
2019.
Of course.
We are post Barack Obama.
Yeah.
This is a different world. Like, things have changed, and that's not enough.
I think also what bothered me too was afterwards when I saw like the family like basically saying, that story is not really how it went down. You know, there's a lot of like ifs, buts. So you know.
Yeah, they didn't. The tweet from the dude's son who produced it wasn't ideal. There was some things about it that then made it complicated. But I will just say, from a movie standpoint, if it comes on TV one day, you'll enjoy it. It's a pretty good film.
Yeah.
It's just when you add everything up all together.
You've been around like incredible rooms with all the legends, and I'm sure people you're big fans of. What's some of the best advice you've received?
To be honest, it's just really how to sustain yourself for a lengthy career. And I've been told to share key elements about yourself, but save the rest of it for your creation. Save the rest of it for the things that matter, which is your work. You know, you can have a public persona, you can do all these things. Share the things that you are comfortable sharing. Help people change the world, but choose the things that you're gonna keep to yourself. Yeah.
Also, and whoever advised you, phenomenal. Your beard lineup is just phenomenal. If us is as good as your beard lineup,
amen. Get ready.
Here's a question I have for you. Yesterday we had a conversation about Will Smith. Actually, it's happened now twice about Will Smith. Sort of Will Smith and skin tone to some degree, and the idea of Will Smith playing Richard Williams. And it seems that some people, Shawnee believes, first of all, that Richard Williams should be portrayed by Dr. Dre because they're both from Compton.
I was just saying.
That's neither here nor there.
He's from Compton, so he might be more believable. But it could be Ice Cube.
It could be Ice Cube.
But what are your thoughts on the idea of like it being unrealistic for someone light-skinned to portray someone who was dark-skinned? Is that a thought that actually pops into your head, or is it people on Twitter being absolutely silly?
No, I think it all really depends. I think, you know, we've had great actors like Denzel portray Malcolm X, and Denzel doesn't look anything, especially when it comes to skin tone.
That's a good point.
Like Malcolm X. I think you have to let artists kind of take risks and suspend your disbelief somehow. I think if it involves things like prosthetics, like widening your nose or things like that, I think that's where it becomes a lot more tricky, because those are some of the things that people tend to use as someone's not beautiful enough, or we have to change, and like, why put a person in nose piece or something like that. I think it's got to be judged by on
Case
just
by
like
case.
case by case. So that's a tricky conversation. It's definitely something that has to be case by case. I think it has to be about the actor, it has to be about the story, it has to be about the context of the story, what else is happening. I think we live in a world where if you're talking about a straight man playing a gay man, I think there's enough gay actors out there where you can find someone to portray that and portray it truthfully instead of asking a straight person to embody something that's not a lived-in experience for them.
But isn't that sort of a core part of acting? Like,
well, but it's also an industry where not everybody has equal opportunity. Right. And we're really talking about equity. You're really talking about equality. You're really talking about everyone getting a chance to do something.
So if it was all things equal, you'd feel differently about it.
If it was all things equal, yeah. But it's again, it's a case-by-case thing. Right. It all depends about the story. Like, what is the story? I don't actually know what the story is that's taking place. So,
how do you feel about Rachel Dolezal playing Oprah Winfrey?
Wrong. Doesn't work. Can't
Shawnee,
work.
are you obligated to have some Trini Carnival talk?
Not obligated, but why aren't you at Carnival?
Hey, man, I'm here. I'm working, and, all Trinis know, work is work. You got to work.
When was the last time you were there?
I was there the Christmas and New Year's before Black Panther dropped.
Oh, you got to go back.
I have not been home ever since. I haven't been back. It's been just
when
like
you get home,
Tobago is waiting for you.
Tobago is waiting. Trini's waiting. I was going to go to Carnival. I had plans to be there this year. And, this happened. Work's happening.
Work is important.
Yeah.
I did have a question on Jordan Peele. With his two last movies being Get Out and this one, why do you think he's going kind of like dark? You understand what I mean?
I think reality's dark, man. Reality's dark, and I think he's holding a mirror up to this culture. I think Jordan Peele's work is becoming really introspection of American cinema, and you're really interrogating American culture. So I wasn't really joking when I said I thought Get Out was about gentrification, right? It was gentrification of the human body, you know what I mean? And you then get to reflect and say how violent gentrification really is, on landscape by looking at, if that was my body, how would I feel about that? How do I feel about that whole situation? And now in us, we're interrogating a lot of cultures of power. And unlike Get Out, where it was people who've been oppressed and had oppressed backgrounds could say, I get it, and I'm definitely on this end of the argument, versus like the white family. Now it's a black family, and the black family are the leads. And they represent, to some degree, the most comfortable side of what's happening in that story. And you got to then question yourself, where do I sit in this dynamic? So you're now like indicted in one side of the argument. And are you going to be okay with that?
Is there a racial dynamic in it other than them being black in terms of?
I think there's always racial dynamic in everything once people are black, and it's definitely more than their skin. It's their social positioning. It's a commentary on that. Like you said earlier, just saying that they're going on vacation. Like all that ends up being a commentary about how they live. But it really lends itself to more of a view of the culture that they belong to, So it's gonna be very interesting. You got to go in there with open eyes. Yeah.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing it in a few weeks when it drops. Also, DJ Juanito wants me to ask you about Avengers 4.
Avengers 4 is just going to be bigger than Avengers Infinity War. That's really, they just keep trying to top everything. Lot of special effects, a lot of story. Like, if you thought Infinity War was something, they're kind of doubling it for this
Doubling
one.
down on Infinity War.
They're doubling down. I could comfortably say they are doubling down on this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, his name is Winston Duke. Congratulations on yet another big role. We're very, very excited to see the film.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Take care, man.
Bless.